Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Solo Performance Showcase. My name is Lee Rondon Davis. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the leader of artistic curation and marketing here at Crowded Fire Theater. I also want to acknowledge that I'm joined here by the incredible Riley Allison, our amazing leader of production and community. Hello, Riley. Riley's holding it down on the back end on the technical producing side of our incredible showcase. Huge shout out to Fair for being here. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that I am zooming in from Huichin, which is home of the Lishan Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, who are strongly present on their land, which is unceded and which we have colonized and settled as Oakland. Our offices sit on the land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people to support local indigenous communities stewarding this land, fighting for rematriation and sovereignty. I'll drop a couple links in the chat of ways you can support. For folks in the East Bay, you can check out the Segorite Land Trust and support their Shumi land tax, which is a voluntary land tax for anyone living and working in the East Bay on unceded Ohlone land. And for folks in San Francisco or on the peninsula, you can support the Unikin land tax, which goes to support the Ramaytush Ohlone people. And I'll drop those links in the chat in just a moment. The reason we're gathered here tonight is to celebrate all things solo performance. Crowded Fire has a branch of our organization called Our Initiatives, and some of those initiatives include our Ignite Fund, which is a grant for designers and technicians. It is our Resilience and Development Playwriting Lab, which is a 2-year cohort for playwrights to develop new work. And it also includes our intensives. So we offer an audition intensive and a solo performance intensive, which culminates in all of this. I'll let Dawn, Monique Williams, and M. Graham Smith speak more to the incredible work happening in our intensives and what you're going to see tonight. But before I pass it over to them, I want to invite you to everyone who's watching, participate, jump in, ask questions in the chat. We have some amazing clips that you can celebrate and lift up. If you know folks or if you enjoyed what you saw during the panel, if questions come to you, please drop them in and I'll pass them along to our incredible panelists tonight. And thank you for being here. I'll pass it off to Graham and Dawn.
Welcome. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, everybody. It's so great to be here with you again, Dawn, to talk about solo work and to present some amazing solo work that's been happening in our workshop. What should we tell the people about what they're going to see tonight? Introduce ourselves first.
How about we introduce ourselves first, Graham?
Awesome. Go for it.
So I'm Dawn Monique Williams. I use she, her. My home is also in Huichin, but tonight I am calling in, zooming in from the land of the Eastern Shoshone and Ute people at the base of the Wasatch Mountain Range in Ogden, Utah. And I am a Bay Area theater maker, educator, as well as author and podcaster and auto drama specialist, and great friends with M. Graham Smith. Take it away.
Auto drama specialist. Is that like a fancy way of saying solo work?
Yes.
M. Graham Smith here. I'm calling in from San Francisco tonight, home of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. I am a professional freelance director, educator, sometimes producer, also sometimes podcaster, but mostly a lover of auto drama and a big fan and friend of Dawn Monique Williams, who has been a partner in this Crowded Fire workshop for solo work since we started creating it several years ago. And it's such a joy every summer to get together and to see the work in the process of being made. And then this is one of my favorite times when we get to hang out and broadcast that work out to the public so they can see what's happening in the workshop, get interested in maybe taking the workshop next year. And then we have some other treats in store for everybody. So maybe we should talk a little bit about like what kind of made us excited about creating the workshop in the first place, and what's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, so I'll let you talk about how we came to start the lab. I will say that I love generative work. As a director, I think we're thought of as interpretive artists, and actors certainly get cast in that role of interpretive artists. But I believe that directors, actors, designers are all also generative artists. And I love that solo work um, can be a way for an actor performer to tap into those generative skills and develop something that is immediate. Maybe it has a low footprint. Maybe it doesn't have a low footprint, but it's a way for actors um, to take on some agency and autonomy and generate new work as creators for themselves.
I love that. I love that kind of idea of the actor creator as the kind of central pillar of what happens in solo work. And I think that's, that's part of our working thesis, I would say, for like why we love this and why we do this every summer. Um, I think we also, feel very strongly that there's a lot of gatekeeping in our field and a lot of people saying, oh, no, just no. And we feel like solo work is a way that actors can say, well, I don't need anyone's permission. Artists can say, I don't need anyone's permission. Creators can say, like, I can just make. And maybe because of that small footprint that you were talking about, there's not a lot of economic barriers to just going and making something that you can do in a room with a group of people, with your body and your voice, making stories. Um, I also think, every year we learn this more and more, Dawn, but the possibilities of solo work feel almost unlimited in terms
Yes.
of like how the work gets made, in terms of what the product looks like. And as part of what happens in the workshop, you share a great like spectrum of clips of different solo performers that we love. And we can see that solo work can be biographical or fictional or based on interviews with real people, or dance, or on and on and on. The genre just seems kind of limitless in terms of what we're going to see, and I think we'll get a sense of that tonight as well.
Absolutely. So, as Graham said, over a few weeks during the late summer, early fall months, thanks to the gracious sponsorship of Crowdifier, we gather a select cohort of artists together to do a generative solo creation workshop. What you will see tonight is a sort of appetizer, sampler, and a amuse bouche, if you will, of some of those works in progress. This past cohort uh, it is one of the most dynamic that we've had, with a wide range of artists, from people who've been doing solo work for 20 years to people who have a background in more traditional acting to people who are dancers, people who are PhD researchers. It's really run the full gamut. And tonight we will sample sort of 5-minute clips of works in progress, um, created by the cohort participants, though not all of them are performed by the cohort participants. And that is a first time coming out of this workshop.
Yeah, that's incredibly cool. I guess maybe we should also just say that if people are interested in maybe doing this next summer with us, we have open applications every time we do it. We accept about 15 or 16 folks. It's absolutely tuition free for all the participants, and we meet for about 3 sessions, generating, and then at the end, all of the participants can be showcased in this broadcast. And this year, we have about 9 folks who are going to be spread out over the 2 broadcasts that we're doing. We're doing one tonight, and then we're doing another one on Friday night that people can catch if they like what they saw tonight.
Yeah, and over the 2 nights, we will feature a special treat, which is at the midpoint or so of each night. We will host a panel of accomplished solo artists. Some of these artists have participated in the workshop this year or years prior. Some have not, but have a wide range of work that they've been doing locally in the Bay Area and abroad and far and wide. And both tonight and Friday's broadcasts are discreet. So we encourage you, if you have a good time with us tonight, to tune in again on Friday and catch an entirely different selection of pieces and an entirely different panel. And both of these links will live live on the Crowded Fire channel for a short while. If you have missed it this evening or can't stick around the whole time, come back, give the link a watch when you have the time.
Yes. And we think we'll find out that we'll finish up tonight a little bit before 8:15. So it's not a long watch. It's a little bit like an hour. Um, so before we introduce this first set of videos, just to recap, we're going to watch some videos. We're going to watch two videos from the participants. Then we're going to have our amazing panel discussion. We'll watch two more videos, and then we'll say goodbye for now. And you can tune in again on Friday. Um, so, Dawn, would you like to introduce the first video that we're going to see tonight?
Yes. Up first is 5 Minutes of Your Time by Luel Señores. Uh, and Luel is the writer and performer of this piece. And we encourage you to be lively with us in the chat.
And right after Llewellyn's piece, we're going to see Carl Andrew Johnson's piece, The Fabric of Family. When a pregnant professor's DNA test reveals an unexpected ancestral tie, she's forced to confront what legacy means and what kind of future she can justify bringing a child into, performed by Tessia Bell. So let's see these two pieces, and then we'll be back with you.
Hey everyone, it's me, coming at you with another video. I realize it's been a long time since I've done my usual 5 minutes of your time videos. I think the last one I did was Why Naraka Blade Point is the best free-to-play game you've never heard of. You can check that out here if you haven't already. And you definitely should, because 2 years later, I still believe it. And it's like available on Xbox and Steam and PS5, so there's really no reason for you not to try it. Anyway, I digress. Um, yeah, the last video like that was May 2024. And since then, all of my videos have just been medical updates. So I wanted to do a 5 minutes of your time video, and my hot take for this one is thank you for all of your support, but you can stop now. So timer's down below. Let me try to convince you. Um, so for those of you who have followed my health situation, you know that I just had a big procedure, done a few weeks ago. All right, you can refer to this video in my Ooh Science playlist for a full recap of that. But if you'll recall, I wasn't super hyped about that procedure because it was very risky. It was also very fucking expensive, even though it was an experimental procedure, because I guess like hashtag American healthcare. But thanks to you all and your absolutely stellar support and inexplicable generosity, I was able to get on the list, get flown to SF, and try it. If it went well, I would have had less pain in general because my nerves would, essentially calm the fuck down. And if it went poorly, my body could react to the medicine as if it were like foreign invaders. So that would be bad. So good news and bad news. Bad news yeah, it went badly. It went poorly. I mean, it was good for maybe like 3 or 4 days or so, but then my body did kind of treat the medication like it was foreign, and it just started breaking out in hives everywhere. Like, it's so gross. I actually, yeah, no, I could show you a picture. I know some of you like gross things. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of like the hives early on. So that, oh, close your eyes, by the way, if you don't want to see gross pictures. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so just imagine those hives, but everywhere, all over my body, my arms, legs, back, stomach, butt, wherever. Um, okay, picture's gone now. You can open your eyes if you close them. So that leads to the good news is that tomorrow the doctors are going to try something to reverse the procedure. That's okay. Plot twist. As of this recording, that will be tomorrow. As of this video is publishing, it will have been a few days. The procedure's on the 16th, November 16th. And by the time you are seeing this, assuming that this video published as scheduled, then you don't have to give me money to try these procedures anymore, because by now I'm dead. That's the good news. Yeah. Ooh. I knew the procedure would be a risk. I know it'll be a risk. I'm just don't want to keep suffering anymore, and I'm sorry. I mean, it'd be one thing if I felt like there was something good coming, you know, like for the world, for me, but lately everything's just been fucking bullshit, and now I have fucking hives all over, so fuck that. So thank you, for your support, really, but you can stop now. Give that to support to someone who can make the world a better place, okay?
Hey, honey, how's it going? Just wanted to check in. How's the conference? Well, I know you told me the hotel coffee is terrible, and that is why, my dear, I continuously urge you to switch to tea. I love you too. Oh, I'm doing okay. A few cravings and some nausea. I didn't expect this so early. I've been job hunting. Sent out a few resumes, tried calling in a few favors, but you know, the idea of a Black Studies professor saying, oh, by the way, I'll probably have to take maternity leave mid-semester, probably won't go over well. Yes, I know they can't legally discriminate, and I know I don't have to tell them I'm pregnant. It just feels dishonest not to. And, you know, and if I weren't pregnant, fine, but the idea of bringing a child into the world right now, it just doesn't feel like a good idea. School shootings, climate change, National Guard troops everywhere. It feels like the world is sometimes coming apart thread by thread. Anyway, I got my heritage DNA results. You get yours? Great. Let's check them out. Wait. Yours says what? You're inherently predisposed to like cilantro? Who writes this stuff? Oh, 97% European. Not shocking given how fast you go through sunscreen. And 3% Moroccan. Cool. All right, mine. Okay. Prefer sweet snacks. Accurate. And I am craving some right now. And genetically, 71% African, 3% Native American, and 26% European. You can't win them all. So, does yours say if you're related to anyone famous? Charles Frederick Weisenthal, the inventor of the sewing machine. I bet our child will end up making their own clothes and looking absolutely fabulous. Okay, let's see what mine says. No. No. Oh my God. I'm a descendant of Robert E. Lee, the man who fought to keep my ancestors enslaved, that said it was God's plan that black people serve and that anyone who wasn't white was something less than human? And did he think that when he was impregnating my ancestors? I have his DNA. Our child is going to have his DNA? I know we don't have to tell anyone, but how do we protect our child from this? From your family? Oh, no, don't tell me how enlightened your family is. Remember that Thanksgiving when your brother asked if you were putting your marshmallows in my hot chocolate and your whole family laughed? And then your dad actually said that he never expected that he might be the grandfather to a nigger baby? No, there is no defense about. Listen, I have to take this call. Goodbye. Love you. Okay, Google. Give me the phone number to the consultation line of Planned Parenthood.
Yes. Can we get some love in the chat for those two pieces?
Yeah, shout it out, or type it out, or emoji it out.
Those were so cool to see. Especially because we never got to see Tessia perform because we were just watching Carl develop some of that
Yeah.
work. And so what a joy to see it performed.
Yeah, and amazing to see where Llewell went with his, and then how he crafted it really for this particular medium, which is different
Yeah,
than live in the studio. Yeah,
so
how
great.
tremendous.
Um, so those were our first two clips, and we're gonna move on now to the centerpiece, as you called it, this amazing panel discussion. We have three incredible panelists who are gonna be moderated by you, Dawn, for the next 30 minutes to talk about whatever interests y'all the most. So should we introduce our panelists?
Let's do it. First, this evening, we will be joined by my colleague, Catherine Sebron, who is an Oakland-based theater maker. Catherine has done it all, performing, directing, writing, burlesque. She is a graduate of San Francisco State University, where she earned her bachelor's in theater of arts. Her solo show, Angry Black Woman 101, played earlier this year in an extended run at the Marsh and deals with the take on introductory dive into the microaggressions, tropes, and misogynoir Black women deal with in the workplace and society at large.
And our next panelist, Kenny Yoon, is returning to us. He was a panelist last year. Kenny's taught, directed, and coached solo performers for 15 years. His award-winning performance background includes classical and modern plays, stand-up comedy, and solo theater. His solo work includes Lettucetown Lies, about growing up in Salinas, California, which was named the best solo show of 2009. The Dark Dada comedy, The Kim Jong-il Experience, and also Mom Spilled Guts on My Tater Tots.
And then also joining us this evening is the legendary Sarah Felder. Sarah is a performer, playwright, and juggler. Over the last 30 years, they have created a body of work that juggles personal narrative, social justice, and circus shtick. While their themes are serious, her form is comic, engaging, vaudevillian. In this way, they strive to create provocative, delightful theater. And as special treat, Sarah joined us as a member of this year's cohort. And so you will get to see Sarah's work in progress from the workshop a little bit later in tonight's broadcast. But first, Graham, tee us up for this little treat.
Yeah, so just before Dawn takes us into the panel, we just have a little quick promo clip from Sarah's work, just to give you a little intro. And I think this promo clip, I heard from Sarah, if this is the clip that I think we're going to show, that this was found in the deep archives. And so this might be a trip to the Wayback Machine. And then right after this clip, we're going to jump into the panel. So enjoy.
Please welcome from San Francisco, California, Sarah Felder.
And then right after this clip, we're going to jump into the panel. So enjoy.
Oh my goodness. Sarah, that was from the Wayback Machine. Oh, wow. Wonderful. Well, Catherine, Kenny, Sarah, thank you so much for joining this evening and being our esteemed panelists for tonight. I think I'll jump right in and just ask each of you in short order to tell us, how'd you come up with the idea that you wanted to perform alone on stage? Why solo work? Catherine, we'll start with you.
I was at a job that I was really, really frustrated in. I was just really frustrated and angry, and I started writing. I started writing at the job, not really knowing what I was writing, and then I decided, oh, this is a show. So that's how I got inspired.
Great. Kenny, what about you?
I was performing in plays at the time, really interested in combining comedy and drama. And so the Marsh was recommended, and I went there, took my first workshop with David Ford, and it felt like it was the right form.
That's great. And Sarah, I saw you have the impulse to respond.
Right, only because I got to show this clip from 35 years ago when I used to be in the circus, and you may wonder what that has to do with solo performance, but I left the circus, and here's something about solo performance, and like Catherine comes from a theater background and burlesque work, and Kenny does clowning and everything, and I come from the circus. I come as a juggler, and like you get to write to your own strengths. Yeah, you get to do what, like, you get to bring that in. And I feel like from the circus, I got to like bring in what I learned about performing on stage, and not the piece you'll see today, but a lot of my work, I still work with props doing it. I started doing solo work because there were topics I wanted to explore, and solo work was a really good way to do it. So my first piece in 1990, my first full-length piece, was about leaving Brooklyn and coming out to California, and it was called Beyond Brooklyn. A few years later, I did a piece called June Bride about what I call the traditional Jewish lesbian wedding, and this was a show before like the headlines talked about queer weddings, and so. And I'm sure everyone else here can speak to this too. We see a way that our own work is um, not just resonates with audience, but is evocative. Is ahead of the headlines in a certain way too. But I felt it's important, like kind of what Catherine said. There's stuff I wanted to explore. There's stuff I wanted to say.
Thank you. I certainly see a thread that exists through all three of your works. There's definitely the sort of like identity thread, and I will circle back to that. Where I wanted to start was with the kinesthetic thread, in that Sarah, you got us started there with mentioning you were a juggler. Kenny does a lot of clown, and Catherine, I know, had a whole career in burlesque. And so I wonder how the physical work that you do marries now adding this like element of text-based work, and where that shows up in your solo projects.
Me first?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Well, I started off as a stage manager director. So for the longest time, I was used to being behind the scenes, and I was equity for like 15 years as a stage manager. And then I something happened, and I decided, I think I want to be a stripper. So I ended up doing burlesque for the next 20 years, and pretty much left theater behind. And there's something really, when you're standing in front of a bunch of drunk people naked, you don't get any more vulnerable than that, especially when you're older and fat. So from that, it seemed like solo performance was a natural thing, because in my solo show, I'm very vulnerable and I'm very naked uh, emotionally, and the things that have happened to Black women in this country, which is why I end the show with burlesque, because, like Sarah said, you got to kind of lean on your strengths. So that's how. Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. And I have some follow-ups already brewing. Kenny, what about you and clown and how that shows up?
I think it's really been about during the pandemic, telling stories on Zoom. We're really still and it's the neck up. And it felt like we don't have a lot of access to our inner lives from this stillness. And then with theaters closing in the Bay Area, I wanted to learn new forms of creating solo work devising. So I started going to the East Coast and discovered theatrical Lecoq-based clown. And clown is very physical. I had no idea theatrical clown's emphasis was on vulnerability, and then to be able to express any emotion just like that, just cry 1 second authentically, and then just be filled with like exuberant joy from like a genuine embodied place, not joy like on an Etsy pillow, but like real truthful joy. And this, I felt like I found what I've been looking for. And then studying with Chris Bays, who's the head of physical acting at Yale, and like half of his pedagogy is physical impulse work, and I had no idea. So way before like getting to like a clown name, etc., there's just a lot of work on freeing our impulses. So I've been bringing this back to the Bay Area, and for solo performers that I teach and direct, been incorporating it into their shows, like Steve Budd. He's just had another run at the Marsh. Some other folks. My friend and colleague Joyful Raven, she teaches solo performance at Berkeley Rep. We offered a class in the summer, and we did Chris Bays' physical impulse work and then solo performance. And the students were just, like their truthful impulses were coming out. So the body-based work I'm interested in, I think, is more about what is the truth that we want to express, and not the kind of narrative forms that certain structures tell us that our stories have to be. And I feel like as BIPOC and LGBT, I think we need to be able to get into our bodies for the truth that we want to tell. No code switching, no, a story needs this form and structure. No, I think it's about what's truthful for us. So this is super exciting. This is, I feel like I have found what I have been looking for with clown over here. And real quickly, I've met a lot of actors here, actors trained in clown, like so many actors trained in clown here. most of them want to create their own solo work because they're saying auditions are drying up and the Broadway industry is so competitive. So now I'm bringing solo performance from the Bay Area, from the Marsh, from David Ford, Charlie Barron, my mentors, over here to New York, and then starting to develop solo work with the clowns and actors I've met here. So the synthesizing has just been super exciting, and it's body based. Last year, typical Graham, dropped a one-liner. The truth is in the body, and I was like, yes, Graham, yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love that we're getting love for Chris Bays online in the chat. So shouts out there. Sarah, would you add more to what you already offered in terms of how the kinesthetic ties to the text-based work that you are doing now?
Yeah, well, the truth is in the body. I love that. And when you're a solo performer, like that's it. Like that's what you have is your body. And I feel like a solo performer is like it's about your relationship to this, to yourself, to the space, to the props, and mostly to the audience. And so like we work with what we have. And for me, like working with props and finding their life and what they can add to the story it's very rich. And also, especially when I first started performing, it was a way to get the attention away from me a little bit and be on, because they're looking at you for a long time. So now they can look at the props or that are being used as metaphor or whatever it is, that like there's just something else there, and you get a nice scene partner there also, right? So in solo performance, like the props are your partners, the space, the stage, the audience too.
Thank you all so much. I hear that thread again around vulnerability. I mean, maybe there's the obvious of being alone on stage, but then the added layer of maybe quite literally being near or partially nude, what it means to be physical in your body, and your body is the tool, and you're having to expose that and share that through both the clown and the juggling, which to somebody like me is like, oh, they're not the same. So I just love to also already just the lesson and expansiveness around like working with props, circus arts, using ribbons, the spinning things, being a clown, that these are actually different iterations of work that maybe a lot of people like me just sort of throw in one big old basket. Coming around to this vulnerability idea, and Kenny, you already started to touch on this. Graham and I said one of the impetuses to starting this work with Proud of Fire was a sort of resistance against gatekeepers. And so you kind of got us there, Kenny, and I want to tie that in too with the ways you three in particular, us four on the screen, share marked identities, and the push, that the additional gatekeeping that comes with having that. And what ways, if any, has the solo work allowed you to not be gate kept? Is there liberation in the work? And I'm happy to now let you all go on impulse. I just keep circling alphabetically. But if somebody has a strong impulse to grab the mic, don't let me stop you. We'll keep going alphabetically then. Catherine.
Ask me differently. I thought you were speaking to Kenny, so I was looking forward to Kenny's answer.
Thank you. I was inspired by Kenny's previous answer and getting us started. I'm really interested in knowing, as a Black woman, and you say that I've seen an early iteration of Angry Black Woman, so I know that it's pushing against tropes, as your bio said, against misogynoir.
Yes.
I wonder what ways has doing the work, tapping into that vulnerability, been liberating for you?
It's been liberating, seeing the Black women in my audience feeling seen and them saying so. I also wrote the piece because I was feeling alone in my experience, and it's my show is couched within a work experience, and then I add other things. It's a show of tangents, like I'm doing now. Anyway, so yeah, so that's for me was the meat of the matter. It was like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm shaking my fist at the sky in my frustration and telling my story as a way of healing myself. And in the same way, I'm also healing other people who come to see my show.
Yes. I mean, it was deeply resonant for
Yeah.
me, very deeply resonant. And the way you thread the burlesque throughout, um, that makes it more than just a monologue. It has these other layers in it. Kenny, what about you and resisting being gate kept?
I love it. I love this question. I think back when I was doing like ensemble theater, the roles were limited. There were roles for stereotypical Asian characters, and I feel like in solo performance I can play with that, like what's the perception of that, because even in writing classes some of the feedback I can get is like I should fetishize my own identity, and so I can play with that a little bit, like present maybe some of the stereotypes, my immigrant family stereotypes, and then start turning them. So an example is I grew up in a California farm town. I went to Irish Catholic school, and so I get to tell what my real story is versus what's going to make an audience feel comfortable or acknowledge that they see me based off of their perceptions. And again, I think the physical training allows what I really want to say. So for me, solo performance, as a queer Asian American male, I can be very open and vulnerable, and then thank you, Chris Bays, and then I can go into that rage and like really express what I want to express about some of the bullshit that I've experienced. Even in the liberal Bay Area, there's perception there that I think Catherine might really have experienced this as well as Sarah. I can't speak for y'all, but I still experience them. And so I get to play with them. And I think in solo performance, I'm gonna act however I wrote the script. So yes, I have to go through the script and do script analysis, et cetera, et cetera. But I can use my full emotional range that might not be associated with my optics, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like who's getting produced? And I think that's what you're talking about, like solo performance as resistance to mainstream theater, um, which even though the people are trying to do more and produce more interesting stories and stories that don't get heard all the time, solo performers get to do that, and we don't have to like wait 10 years to like hope a theater picks it up. So it's a much more immediate form too. And so we see like the greatest stories from so-called more marginalized backgrounds. Um, I performed my show in Pittsburgh. I remember at a time when the word lesbian, they wouldn't write the word lesbian in the newspaper.
Wow.
And I just said, like, that's amazing. I'm so curious how you'll describe the show. Like, how will you do that? And like we get to, and as Kenny was talking about just now, like we get to like bring up stuff that we just get to bring it up, what's important to us. And I feel like for me, I use solo theater to really explore what, issues of significance for me. And for me, for a long time, I I had a fight with my mother for several decades around Israel Palestine, and I wrote a show about it. And it was really about our relationship, and it was an amazing thing to do and terrifying, actually, to do that, and great. And I wrote a show. My friend Paoli was struggling with bipolar disorder, and she said, if you write a show about this, make it a comedy. And I wrote a play called Melancholy, a Comedy, and it was so just what you said, Don, like this is an act of liberation, like being like what Kenny said too, and Catherine, like being yourself, like trying to be your authentic self, trying to have an authentic theatrical experience with an audience, like that's resistance and that's liberation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna work backwards this time and stick with you for a second, Sarah, because what I'm interested in learning from each of you is a little bit more about your development process. Catherine mentioned, like started like journaling at work. Sarah, as somebody who sort of started as a juggler, who was doing object-based type of performance, how do you go from that, holding this object, to actual utterance of spoken text, or how do you combine these things? What does that look like for you?
I talk. I talk in the car. I like do the monologues. Then I write them down. Then I go back to them. I know I'm onto something when I found the right object, you know, and then I kind of go back in again. And then I have another way in because I play with it. Sometimes I wrote the new pieces about money and class. I'm trying to understand my own class background. Um, and I've probably been writing about it for years, and it's so great to write about it and then to kind of find the monologue in it, to find what's interesting about it, to find what I'm interested in about it first. I feel like I'm the first audience, and I'm like what's interesting to me, and then where can I take it from there? But yeah, I would say like I talk it out, and um, and then I write it down, and then I kind of try to find my angle, my way in.
That's beautiful. I'm really excited for our viewers to then get to see your work in progress, because I remember so vividly um, the piece you were developing in class. And now that I know more about you as sort of somebody, I'm going to call it object-based theater, but that might not be how you would name it, but that's how the kids at Townsend would name it. And it just, now it's so clear to me, like that physical life and where that came from, even though in class there weren't objects, but the physical life was so strongly present. Kenny, I'll swing over to you to just ask a little bit about what your development looks like.
It often was like writing a script with some unresolved trauma or pain. And in the last few years, that often led to just overexposure, trying to perform vulnerability, or maybe mistaking trauma as authenticity. But a couple of years ago, I just ended up hating performing because it was just all trauma. And somehow I thought this legitimizes me as an artist somehow. And so, again, while I've been training over here on the East Coast, um, being body based, the impulses that want to come out, the sounds, the breath, the gestures, and then from there, what words want to come out, and then devising from there what I've learned from Pig Iron and from one of my teachers, Ryan Pater. So I'm using a lot of Chris Bayes' impulse work with Lecoq pedagogy. And then one thing that I've learned here that now I've attached to is that I need to have joy in what I'm performing. And I need to, Chris has really taught us, like, do we love what we're making and trying to share? Like, doesn't matter what the content is. And I feel like as people of color, as marginalized people, we've had to sell our pain. I'm like, what about our joy? What about vulnerability? What about our grief? Like our full humanness? So this is where I'm at now with devising, and that's how I work with some of the people I'm creating work with here. We're doing impulse stuff and then seeing what wants to come out. But I have to say, joy has been overlooked. And I think performing joy is, I think there's vulnerability in joy. And I've just learned this in the last few months.
Nice.
Absolutely. There is absolute vulnerability in joy. I feel like that's something I too have learned, as we're in pandemic recovery or whatever that is, that joy is resistance. And that is a liberatory act, especially for people that are minoritized, where we're not always allowed to have expressions of joy publicly or out loud. Yes. Catherine, you got us started by sharing that you had an experience at work and you just started pen to paper to get it out. How did that become a stage show complete with dance, numbers, and song?
Oh my God. Okay, so what would happen is I was writing the story of the work experience, and then I started because I do a lot of academic reading about race and social justice and stuff. So I just started to pull apart, like, okay, my boss probably thinks this because of this reason and because of this history. And this is probably true because of this history. So I just started to put it together like a puzzle and then would breathe into it to make it more of a story, pretty much. Yeah, and as Kenny said so beautifully, I wanted to end with joy and more vulnerability, like and literally taking off the stereotype, because my show talks about the stereotype and how Black women are just pigeoned into being certain things. And one of the things I say is Black womanhood is not a monolith. So anyway, so that's how I put it together. It was like, oh, I can say when I'm talking about hair, I can talk about here when I'm talking about the Crown Act, or when I'm talking about, I could talk about Jerry curls. I could talk about different things. Um, as I'm so yeah, it was a struggle because I was like, what am I doing? So because I was doing it alone. I didn't have a mentor at the time because I didn't know what I was doing. But I mean, fortunately I figured it out.
You definitely did. I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers because I think there's such a tremendous impact to like the final images that you create in that piece. I will say the way you covered that wide spectrum of sort of academic topics or like socio-political ideas, but added that real personal, like heart touch, and then that very closing image, or like movement, that sort of final phrase, is really remarkable. How you were able to get all of those things in there, and it's like a part TED talk, always artful monologue, and then with the burlesque in there too. So delicious. As I bring our time together with the four of us to a close, I do just want to go around again and check in with each of you. What's next? What are you working on now? Catherine, is there Angry Black Woman 102? Are we going to have a Joyful Black Woman 101? Are we going to have, uh, you know, uh, I still ain't nobody's whatever. That's me trying to protect the ending. So Catherine, what are you working on now? What's next for you?
Well, I'm working on one piece that's just about being an odd Black girl from Sacramento, California, because I was an odd Black girl. And then, of course, there's Angry Black Woman 201, which I'm working on now because there's so much. And there's so much happening that's still happening and I still have a lot to say. Um, so yeah, so I'm working on two pieces right now. Hopefully they'll be done by middle of next year, and we'll see what I can do with it then.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. And yeah. And Kenny, what's going on? What are you working on now? What's coming up?
Joyful Raven and I will continue to offer a clown-based solo performance in the Bay Area. I think she's going to come meet me in New York next year, and we're going to offer a Bay Area solo performance in New York to clowns and actors. And I am just open to devising. I'm devising with people, and I love devising. It's not hierarchical, it's physical, it's fun. So I'm just seeing where life takes me, and I'm going to trust it.
Excellent. And Sarah, I think you have many irons in the fire. What are you up to?
Well, first, I just want to say this was so inspiring, and solo theater is alive and well in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And as David Ford likes to say, about every 7 years, the media decides that solo theater is dead, and then it comes back, again. And I love all the ways it's being reinvented. And thank you all for doing this, and thank you, Crowded Fire, for doing it too. Um, I'm working on a new show of which you're about to see an excerpt from, and that's really exciting for me. And this one, and I should mention this because we've just talked a lot about object work, and which is a little bit my bread and butter. But I'll also say when I started performing, I always did the objects and the text together, and then I got much more confident in the objects by themselves and the text by themselves to see what that could do. And I say this to say that even though we've talked a lot about objects, the monologue you're going to see is not using objects too. And one more shout out about joy, and not just the joy of in the piece, but also the joy of performing. And I often tell my students, if you're having a good time, at least that's one person who's having a good time. So like, that's worth it. We hope the audience is also, but we'll start with you.
I am so humbled and grateful that you three agreed to spend this time with. The offer came from Graham and I. I got the good fortune of tonight with you three, and he'll get Friday night with another three. But I learned so much in your company, and as I'm adding auto drama specialist to my resume, what that really means is that I'm working with performers to create their piece. I have not yet found the courage to be a solo performer, so I'm really humbled, and I'm thank you for the lessons that you have bestowed upon all of us tonight, and I really appreciate your time. And Riley, I'm gonna ask you to throw Graham back on stage with me here. Hello, Graham. Are you
Oh,
jealous?
I feel so jealous. I feel so lucky, actually, just to be able to, in the backstage of the Zoom of it all, to hear that conversation with those incredible artists. I'm just still kind of digesting the idea of the solo work as an act of liberation. And I'm digesting the idea of, like, sometimes we're confusing authenticity for trauma, or trauma for authenticity, and therefore, like, maybe the road to joy is going to be the fuel that brings the work forward into the present moment and into our bodies. I think I'm just vibrating from all of that terrific um, dialogue that you instigated. So thanks for that amazing conversation, Dawn, and all of our artists. Um, I'm so glad that this is available to, like, head back to as well. If people want to review that conversation or share it with their friends, it's going to be there on YouTube and Facebook Live, so you can cut and paste and send it to people who need to hear some of those messages.
Um, I just am full up. I'm so full up. I love theater makers, and I love people who have the courage to be vulnerable, to tell their stories, even if they're fictionalized, but because it just takes so much, um, that solo generation. And I would love if people want to shout us out in the chat, share a little love for our panelists as we get ready to move on to our next set of videos here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, especially hearing you talk to Catherine, like, I want to see that work so badly right now. I want to see all three of their work as they perform, and luckily, this next clip that we've got to share with folks is from Sarah's work in progress from the workshop. So we're going to share two more clips tonight. The first one's going to be from Sarah, and I'll say a little bit about what that piece is. Sarah calls this piece you're about to see Money. And she says, everything I write, one way or another, starts on Brighton Beach Avenue in Brooklyn. This one goes back further to my grandmother's shtetl. In this excerpt from a longer work, I explore the roots of my relationship to money, class, and bringing home the fakin' bacon.
Wow. Um, I'm so I'm so excited to share these pieces. Following that, we will have "Forgive Me," the cousin with stories, as an abridged version, as it's a work in process, by Ketsia Duvall, performing as Orion Sky. And in a forest somewhere, Evie is alone with their notebook, trying to write. Haunted and frustrated by their block, Evie goes on a series of tangents, leading them to remember a past storyteller in their life.
All right, let's watch these.
My grandmother, Sarah, my namesake, as a young child, is walking along a path in her village in Russia, or Poland, or Ukraine, when suddenly, miraculously, unbelievably, She spies on the ground money. She can't believe her luck. She's going to be able to bring back money to her family. So she reaches down to get the coins. And she suddenly remembers that it's Saturday. And according to her tradition, there's a rule that says you can't touch money on the Sabbath. What to do? Every Saturday, my mother wakes us up at the crack of dawn to go ice skating. We walk to the subway, we take the D train to Prospect Park, and then we make it to ice skating for the free session in the morning. First we eat breakfast at home, and then my mother makes us lunch, sandwiches wrapped in aluminum foil and cucumbers on the side, and we bring that with us. Rule number 1, never spend money on food outside the house. Always bring food with you. I love ice skating. I love gliding around the ice. I feel so free, and my friend Vicky and I would race around the rink as fast as we could. One Saturday, as we're ice skating, I notice my mother off to the sidelines, and she is buying a soft pretzel. What? This is a direct violation of rule number 1. Never buy food on the outside. What could be so important that she would violate this rule? Turns out that my mother bought the pretzel to give to this little girl that she had met. Her name was Cheryl, and every Saturday my mother and Cheryl would hang out together off on the sidelines while the rest of us ice skate. One Saturday, my mother packs up some of my old clothes, puts them in shopping bags, schleps them on the subway, and gives them to Cheryl. I am amazed. My clothes were already hand-me-downs by the time they got to me. I cannot believe that they will be of value to someone else. Rule number 2, there are people who have less than us. That means that there are people who have less than them. I'm starting to get confused as to where I fit in. I get a paper route in Brooklyn, the New York Post. I hate it. It's after school. Some of the men are creepy and they invite me into their apartments. Rule number 3, never hang out with people who read the Post. Then I get a series of office jobs. I'm a very good typist. My mother was a typist, and I start to understand that my destiny is to type other people's ideas, to center their thoughts, to highlight their revelations. And yet I wonder if there might be more. I moved to California because it has fewer rules than Brooklyn. And in California, I recognize that I am both outsider and insider. This is the line I walk. And I live in a kind of delicate discomfort. My grandmother, my namesake, cannot leave the shining coins on the ground, but she can't take them with her. So what does she do? She sort of skates her feet along the ground, pushing the coins off to the side of the path till they're hidden in the weeds behind the rocks, so that she can still be true to her tradition, but come back the next day to pick up the money.
The last time I wrote anything good was my junior year of college. I was at a camping trip and I told this boy that I liked that I had a crush on him. Look, Evie, I like you a lot. You know that? It's just that I don't quite like you like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Of course. Totally. Cool. Yeah, totally. Cool. So, we're good? Yeah, of course, we're totally good. We're so good. We're good. We're the best, yeah. Cool. I think I'm gonna go. Yeah. Bye. Thanks for letting me know. I handled that shit like a champ. After he left, I cried my eyes out. Yeah. You should have seen it. It was the most Pisces shit ever. There I was, in the woods, crying. Woods, girl. I was girl at the time. Crying her eyes out. And then just so as the tears came out, so did the words. It was the most emo shit I have ever done in my life. The words were beautiful though. It was like, do the trees hear my cries? Broken like a seed. My eyes, tears watering it, while my heart sprout itself in you. I mean, I don't even think I like the boy that much. Ask me what his name is now. I couldn't even tell you. But I'll forever be grateful to him, I guess. Cheers to that boy. Cheers to that boy. But now, nothing. Literally nothing. Nothing will come out. I mean, I've tried. I've literally tried. Nothing will come out. I don't know. I don't mean to sound crazy, but I think the words have a vendetta against me. It's not like I can't see them. No, I can see them. The words are everywhere. I can see them. I can try to grasp at one, or I try to write one down, but the moment I try, it just vanishes. It disappears. Like they're hiding from me. Teasing me. Punishing me. Torturing me. You know? I do that. Worse things. But I'm trying not to. Not to force things. And I'm trying to wait more. Trying to let things flow. Let things come to me. Let the ideas come to me. And wait. 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 My cousin, Ireland, she was the one that was good with the stories. She died today. Well, today, on this date, 14 years ago. She was the one that was good with the stories. Telling the stories, writing the stories, not me. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye.
Let's get some love in the chat for those two amazing clips. Um, it's wild, Dawn, to like think back to when those pieces were just in their, first phases of development.
Yes.
To see them come all this way.
It's so amazing. And to know that for both of these artists, they're moving towards like full length pieces. So just it's very exciting. And I already was full up, and now I'm even more full up. And I'm so thrilled. Right when I was like, yeah, Graham, my life is very full. I'm tired. I don't know. Are we doing this again? Now I'm like, this is so vital. This work is so vital. And I'm so grateful to Crowdifier for giving us this space to work with these artists.
Yeah, yeah. From giving us the space to supporting this whole tuition-free workshop with the grants that they write and the work that they do to build this community. Um, let's give a big thank you to Crowded Fire, to all of our panelists, to all of our solo performers for sharing their works in progress. I really want to shout out the amazing folks at Crowded Fire behind the scenes tonight who made this broadcast possible, especially Lee Rondon Davis and Riley Allison, who are making all the magic happen behind the scenes.
And again, we have another one on Friday. We do hope you'll join us on Friday. Those will stream live again on the Crowdifier Facebook Live and the YouTube Live. And it's an entirely different program of works in progress, a different panel made up of solo artists, Janae Simon, AJ Jefferson, a surprise panelist yet to be named, maybe me. I kid.
We got surprises. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to the broadcast tonight. We hope we'll see you next week. Until then, everybody, I'm just going to be thinking about acts of liberation for the next 48 hours until my panel on Friday.
Yes, yes. Take care. Good night, everyone. We'll see you Friday.
Good night, everyone.